Hi, I'm Wesley Wilder from Hesston, Kansas. I was a ministry assistant during the years of 2013 and 2014, and my ministry was a small group Bible study. I think one thing that I wish that I had known going into it was just how much that I would grow from the experience. There's just something very, very special about leading a Bible study and being in charge and having to think about the topic that you're going to talk about the entire week leading up to it, getting yourself prepared, and then the stress of waiting to see who shows up, and then ultimately the relaxation of just having a fantastic conversation with a great group of guys that challenges you and pushes you and makes you think a lot more than just being a follower does. There have been several different successes. I would say my highlight and my success would be we had an Ash Wednesday service for our Bible study, and we had somebody playing piano, we had several worship stations, and I was just off to the side in case anybody needed prayer or to pray with somebody or to talk through some problems with somebody, and we all took communion together and we left, and that was definitely my favorite Bible study of the year. My encouragement would be that it may not sound like encouragement at the moment, I guess, but you're going to come in and you're going to expect everybody to come and talk to you, and that you're going to be this big influential factor on campus, and everybody's going to talk to you and everybody's going to love you. And to some extent that's very true, but you're not going to get people coming up to you left and right asking you to help them with their problems. It's not going to be people knocking on your door, bringing the door down, trying to talk to you. But I can tell you that the words of affirmation and knowing that you made a difference will come at the end, and that you will be extremely happy and surprised by the amount of people who at the end of the year say, there was this time where I was really struggling and your presence made this impact on me, or thank you for this Bible study that really changed the way that I thought about things, or thank you just for being there for me, or whatever it happens to be. There's just those moments of affirmation do come at some point, and so don't get discouraged if they're not happening in the moment.
I'm Savannah Hofster, Midland, Ohio, and my ministry is I have a Bible study every week, well, for the most part, and it's usually a smaller group. Into a problem, but it's more about just being there as a resource and just being open and just building the relationships with people. So it's just, knowing what to expect, and that you can mess up and stuff, and it's okay. People aren't gonna think you're terrible because of it. Just be real with it and own up to it. One piece of advice I'd like to give to the incoming MAs is just to never stop trying, to just never give up, and to make sure you're not doing it on your own. I tried doing that a lot. Try to make sure that you're relying on God to do His ministry, because doing it on your own sucks and it's not fun and you can't do it. So it's much better just to rely on God and grow closer to Him through it.
I'm Nathaniel Ressler from Mount Vernon, Illinois, and my MA ministry from 2013 to 2014 was parishes. One thing I wish I knew with that in mind, was that very small impacts and are big, and I'm not going to see all of the results of my work. I did a lot of things, and I probably affected a lot of people, but in a lot of small ways that I'm not going to see into fruition. At the beginning of the year, it was kind of hard to connect with all of my parish. One of the struggles I had was some of the people don't want to have dialogues about, just don't want to have dialogues in general about religion or sports or anything. And I think something that kind of shown me that what that showed me was that you're not God's answer to everybody. I'm not God's answer to everybody. I'm not equipped to minister to everybody, and that's okay because I'm part of the greater body of Christ who is equipped to minister to everybody. One piece of advice I would give to MAs or anyone that's kind of in a ministry type role would be that don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. The more vulnerable and honest you are with those people, just being yourself in the truest form, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because believe me, I got a lot of ugly. But letting people see that, they will really be drawn to you and they'll really appreciate that.
I'm Rochelle Haar. I'm a ministry assistant the 2013-2014 school year, and my ministry is help lead campus worship on Sunday nights. Coming into this year, I wish I would have known to not stress about the planning of campus worship. The first couple were really stressful because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect, and although that's important, it's not necessarily the most important thing. Just to make sure, you have to make sure all the music is planned and everything's in order, but when you have the band all ready to go, it's up to the band's leadership to make sure the night goes well. And although you are the leader of it, you're not in charge of the whole thing. You have to let them do what their job is and what you ask them to do. And so not being stressed is really important because it's not all on your part. I would like to encourage you to just enjoy every aspect. Not everyone in your church is going to come on you with problems, but just to be open, be willing to speak with them when they do.
My name is Nick Yoder from Berlin, Ohio, and my ministry was small groups. I wish that I knew that my ideas aren't always the right ideas. There are several different ways to run a small group. Some of them work, some of them don't work. It depends on what kind of people you're working with. So it's good to be flexible with your teaching styles. Our ministry with small groups didn't work out the way that we wanted it to. It kind of struggled. We didn't bring many people in, which was tough. But at the same time, it was important for us to realize that failure wasn't the end of the world. There were different things that we could do instead of small groups. I know one of the things that I did was I worked with guys on the baseball team, working at answering any sort of questions that they had, any sort of, I guess anything religious or spiritual or even life-based questions that they had. I was able to shed light on, which kind of it provided a light at the end of the tunnel that we didn't necessarily see when our small group started to fail. A piece of advice for the incoming MAs is to play to your strengths. Not everyone's going to be great at teaching a small group. Not everyone's going to be great at having one-on-one discussions. It's important to know what you're good at and really work with your strength, because you're working with a team, so there's a good chance that someone else on your MA team has strengths that complement your own strengths and that compensate for your own weaknesses. So don't be worried if you have weaknesses don't be afraid of those interfering with your ministry. Just keep doing what you're strong at and trust that the other members of your team will come through with their own strengths.